On today's episode of the Wow Party podcast, we dive into the transformative power of turning waste into dignity. Join me as I chat with Dana Marlowe, the inspiring founder of I Support the Girls, a 501c3 changing the world for good. Dana's story started in her own closet with the question, what should I do with bras I can't use anymore? Discover how a simple act of donation blossomed into a global movement, distributing over 47 million bras, underwear, and menstrual products to women in need. Dana shares her journey from a humble Facebook post to partnering with international celebrities and corporations. We discuss their innovative strategies, like the life-saving DashKits, and how they redefine sustainability by supporting marginalized communities. Get ready to be inspired by stories for mobilizing community support and amplifying a powerful mission. If you're eager to learn how one simple step can make a real difference, this episode is for you. Let's get the party started. Welcome to the Wow Party podcast, where we celebrate the visionaries behind vegan, ethical, and sustainable business. In each episode, we'll dive deep into their journeys, uncovering the why behind their mission-driven business. I'm your host, Stephanie Lahart. Tune in with me for passionate discussions about overcoming challenges, innovative marketing strategies, and the power of using business as a force for good. So whether you're an entrepreneur seeking guidance or a conscious consumer wanting to support impactful brands, join us as we explore the stories behind the businesses that are changing the world for the better. Let's get the party started. Today on the show, I am joined by Dana Marlowe. She is the founder of the organization I Support the Girls. Now, what began with the simple question of what can I do with my perfectly good but unused bras has sparked a global movement. Now, after a sales associate mentioned to Dana that homeless women needed bras, Dana called local shelters and learned they urgently needed bras, and one call for donations quickly turned into hundreds. And from that moment, I Support the Girls was born. Now, the really cool thing about I Support the Girls is that they are truly reframing sustainability through a lens where most climate coverage overlooks, and that is dignity. Because there are perfectly good, gently used bras that are urgently needed by millions of women and girls across the globe. And they're diverting these bras from landfills and from creating waste while directly supporting people experiencing homelessness. Today, the organization has distributed over 47 million bras, underwear, and menstrual products to more than 6 million women and girls experiencing homelessness. The most important form of sustainability might be rethinking what we throw away and who gets left out when we do. Welcome to the show, Dana.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Dana, we had a little pre-conversation a couple seconds ago, and I told you I wish I would have met you 20 years ago because I, like you, had something come up in my life where I looked around and said, you know what? I see a need for something. I think I'll just start a nonprofit.
Well, I really admire folks who have that vision. I don't think I actually had that vision. It's easy to look back now a decade later and be like, that's what happened. But I definitely a decade ago did not have that vision. It was more of an accident.
No, and that's what the most amazing part is. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning because first of all, when you hear those numbers right now about the 47 million donations, 6 million women helped, I mean, that's like staggering numbers. That's like, wow, that sounds like gigantic organization. There must be hundreds and hundreds of people on staff. And as someone who formerly ran her own breast cancer nonprofit with about 6 people, I know that is not true. So I want to hear from the beginning how this really got started. And then, along the ways, how you were able to get all of this support to start really building this organization. So, back in the day, Dana, what was going on? Where were these extra bras coming from?
They were shoved in the back of my drawer, and I hadn't realized that I could do something good with them. And I'm somebody who, like a lot of your audience, likes to upcycle, recycle, donate their products to donate their housewares, their clothing, et cetera, to give it another life. And I was doing that with a lot of the items in my life that I was no longer going to be using, but I wasn't opening my bra drawer and grabbing the bras out the back. And after a year and change, I had lost 35 pounds, like very methodically and deliberately, and lost that weight, and also was a newish mom at the time. I mean, the kids got older, but um, and had breastfed both kids, and so my body had changed shape, and things were no longer where they were prior, and I needed some new bras. And so, as you heard from the story, as I was getting fitted for new bras after this weight loss, I had asked the sales associate what I could do with my perfectly good bras. And she said, well, homeless women need bras. And I didn't know that. So I went home and realized that I had 16 perfectly good bras that were no longer going to fit me, of different styles, whether it was underwire bralettes, sports bras, maternity bras. And they were all clean, but I found a shelter. I went online and found a homeless shelter near me in the Washington, D.C. area that was very eager and in need of some bras, called them and said, I will wash them all again. So they're like really fresh. And what else do you need? And he was the gentleman that I spoke with there said that they also needed maxi pads and tampons, menstrual hygiene products for their women who are coming into their shelter because it was not a budgetary line item. And I mean, now the number's changing, but approximately half of the US states, there is still a tax on menstrual hygiene products, um, making them even further harder to obtain if, finances are a big concern. And so I wanted to do what I could. So I just put it out on my local Facebook page and shared it with some of my local friends in my neighborhood, and my 16 bras quickly doubled and tripled. And then everyone's like, well, I'm going to like the local big box store, or I have a coupon for my preferred, tampons or pads. So I'm just going to pick up an extra package and give it to you. So it started very organically. And I was like, sure. And I'll just drive it all down to the DC shelter that I spoke with. This is no big deal. Now that we're over a decade old, I realized that there's just so much we can do. And so it has been quite a journey, Stephanie. It really has been a very wild ride that I didn't anticipate, and a lot of steps and people and resources and time and thought leadership along the way of this decade plus. And so that's where I support the girls is today. So yeah, we're hopefully going to hit 50 million products donated soon. We partner with massive corporations, and we are grateful for still the individual who said, well, I had a weight loss, I'd like to donate my bras, or I understand the need of menstrual equity and period poverty that you all talk about on Instagram or TikTok. So I want to donate some packages or host a drive at my book club, my sorority, my workplace. And so every tampon matters, every dollar donated matters, and we take it very seriously.
Well said, well said. And, I totally understand that, we end up with things sometimes in our wardrobe or our cabinets where we don't need to use it anymore. And then we're like, well, what do we do with it? And I have a great example from my own life is the fact that, in recent years, I went through menopause. And suddenly, I'm like last year, actually, I was doing a huge home purge and cleaning out cabinets. And I found a huge stash of unused menstrual products like pads and tampons and all of this stuff, brand new in packages, never opened. And I sat there saying, well, what do I do with this stuff? So, I mean, there's so many instances like that where we have things that, we had purchased and we're like, well, what do we do with it? I am like you, like the thought of throwing anything into my dumpster at this point just makes me cringe because I know it's going into a landfill. So it's like, where do we go, from that point? And I love it. Like, there's people like you now that are thinking about these problems and saying, okay, if we organize as a community, we can actually pool these goods and then send them to someone who does need them. Because I think you're really right in that statement, in that, we're trying to make sure that when we're recycling, that we're doing it in not only a thoughtful way, that it's going to the people that really need it. And it's not just simply becoming more junk for someone else's closet. And in terms of, being a woman, there's so many things that we have to deal with that just aren't a public conversation. Like, men never think about this. They don't think about how much money we spend as women on things like, menstrual products and products that we need just to exist, kind of thing. So, it's crazy to me that we're still having this conversation. But, the fact that you started this, over 11 years ago at this point, that's impressive, because I feel like we're having much bigger conversations about recycling and what we're calling like reusing, rehoming than we were back in the day. So I mentioned to you when we first started our conversation that I'd actually started a breast cancer foundation. So it was called Bust It Foundation, and we were raising money for women who were dealing with breast cancer treatment to help them pay those residual bills like co-payments and rent and things that would come up that, they just didn't have the extra money for because maybe they weren't working. And our signature event was actually, you would love it. It was called Bowling for Boobies. And we had a very cute logo, very cute logo with this girl with these bowling balls and all of this. But it was funny because when we were doing that, and let me tell you, we started this back in 2007. We did get many people even then coming to us wanting to donate other products to us. Like, we were just raising money, and they came to us wanting to donate bras and menstrual products and all these things. And at that time, we wouldn't have even have known what to do with it. So that's why before we started, our interview, I was saying to you, girl, I wish I would have met you 20 years ago. Because I literally, even back in 2007, had people coming to me asking me what they could do with these products. And here you are now in 2026 solving my problem. So I'm going to build that time machine.
Yes,
And
yes, we can,
afterwards,
and we could totally, in your time machine landscape, we could totally go out for a lunch or go for a hike or go do something fun.
yes, we have so much more time with the time machine. But, speaking of time, before you did get involved with I Support the Girls and this really beautiful global mission, what were you doing? What was your business? Like, where did you come from, Dana?
So I'm from New York, and I have been a lifelong advocate of for by people with disabilities. And so my professional career has been focused on making the back end side of technology accessible for people who are blind, low vision, deaf, hard of hearing, or with mobility disabilities. And that kind of technology could be making websites accessible, making software accessible, or mobile apps or documents. And so I've been doing that for a long time, of bridging the gap between people with disabilities and accessibility. So that's my background. I still do that all the time, every day.
Well, and now I can understand where the bridge comes in there, because you were already used to really thinking about other people and helping them. So this kind of natural progression to starting a global community does not surprise me at all. However, we all know that, when you have a great idea in the shower, actually implementing it and getting it off the ground is the biggest challenge. So there you are 11 years ago deciding I'm going to just, take all of these donations to my local charity, or wherever you were going. But then what was the next step in when you realized this could be something bigger? Like, how were you able then to start reaching out and getting more people involved?
So it did happen very organically. So once I work through getting that first donation, and that first donation of my 16 bras and a couple packages of maxi pads actually turned out to be, we donated over 8,100 products. Okay, so it wasn't even just 60, it was my 16 bras from my drawer, but I just shared the information with, neighborhood friends and listservs, and it got shared and reshared. And one of the things that happened was and I guess it was a slow news cycle. My local paper, as I said, I'm from the DC area. So my local newspaper is the Washington Post, which I do know is like a fairly well read when, like when as people read newspapers, it's a fairly well read publication, both online and in hard copy. And they wanted to do a story and come to my house. And I said, well, I don't think the story is about me for a lot of privileged reasons. I'm a professional, middle aged, white, comfortable mom who lives in the suburbs. And the story is about why women in DC, again, because this was before it went nationally and internationally, it was just thinking locally here in the DC metropolitan region, why women don't have access to these basic essential items around bras and menstrual hygiene products. And why is that? And what can we do? And let's hear from them. So I didn't want the interviews to be at my house. And then instead, when I reached back out to the shelter that I was working with to do this collection drive and said, a reporter at the Washington Post who would like to do this story. I think the story should be more on telling from your clients' voices, if there are folks that would like to share their story, and what the services that you provide are. And they can talk about, sure, here's 1,000 bras and 7,000, pads and tampons, but like, let's talk about the reality of why this is a need and what is happening here in our society. So they did the story in the Washington Post, and it was a cover story. It was like a cover page, and it was very well received. It was on the weekend edition, and a lot of people read it. Because I thought I was done, right? I thought I was like, here's the collection, here's the drive, here's the donation to this incredible organization that I have been supporting for a long time. And sure, we could do an interview. So we did the interview. Then the story came out. I was like, okay, well, that's cute. Like, my mom loved it, right? Like, like daughters in the newspaper, made mom happy. But I I thought I was done, Stephanie. That's why you were like, starting this nonprofit. I was like, no, this is an accident. Like, it's one thing to be like, here's a collection in a drive, and like collectively, like we were doing something good, and that was awesome. But I didn't have visions of expansion or growth or millions of products or a staff. Like, no, 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 no. This was, all right, I'm done. And let's keep the conversation going online, right? But that's not what society had for me. And I think that's important is when you're tapping into the zeitgeist of where society is in that moment in time, what they want to talk about, that is a lot of what was happening. And people just started messaging me on every social media platform they could, reaching out to the reporter, asking how to get in touch, because what I saw were two silos. And I'm going to hold up, I guess, if you're listening online, you can't see the fun visual, but I'm holding up two pens because that's what I have, two like markers, right? And my inbox was flooded with one pillar, one column of people who were, I want to donate my gently used bras. I want to upcycle. I want to give you my bras. I've hit menopause, or I no longer have a period, and I want to donate boxes of pads and tampons, and I want to go out and buy some. So people who had products I wanted to donate, or people who were like, I want to do a collection drive in my office or for my women's employee resource group at my company or whatnot. And then the other column, right, the other pillar that I'm holding up here, in my other hand, were people who said, hi, I'm a woman experiencing homelessness in Iowa, and I really need some tampons. Or I'm the executive director of a domestic violence shelter in San Francisco. I heard you might have access to some new bras, new underwear, and some tampons. Can you help us? Or I'm a mom in Dallas, and I have 3 teenage girls, and I have no access to menstrual products, and they're too expensive. Can you help? And so when your inbox has these basically 2 columns of people, at that point, what I support the girls is basically the bridge. And it's kind of like we're just the pen on top here that is bridging these 2 columns, these 2 silos of people. And that's what we do. Um, but I didn't do it alone. I didn't do it in a said silo. I had incredible family and friends who are much smarter than me, and we strategized and we went, like, we had like a several day retreat where we were talking everything from nonprofit management to business strategy. And I had people come in the room who were PR professionals, marketing professionals, communication professionals, just business strategists, operation folks, and say, how can we expand this? And so there were a lot of people who said, I want to bring your project to my town. I was like, okay, really? Like, that I didn't think it moved people in that way, but I was like, so I wound up early on putting together like a tips and tricks guide. And I'm also nerdy, right? So now you can decide if you would want to be friends with me from 20 years ago. But um I wound up running a couple pilot studies from people who had read the article and said, I want to bring this to my town. So I sent them like this like suggested tips, tricks, things to avoid, et cetera, so that it's the most successful drive it could be. Please let me know. Let's chat. And I had people also send me their resumes, like, because it was like hundreds of people. And I was like cruising through people's resumes just to host a drive. I mean, it was a little ballsy. It was probably a little weird, but like I didn't know what I was doing. So like mea culpa. And I wound up cherry picking a couple really incredible humans and having calls with them and saying, "Okay, let's figure this out." They did these drives and each one was more successful than the next. And they like of people donating gently used clean wash bras, of sealed menstrual hygiene products, etc. And so that's how this really blossomed and expanded.
First of all, I'm going to tell you right now, Dana, we are definitely best friends for life. And yes, I would have loved to have met you 20 years ago because everything you just described is my exact experience when I was starting my nonprofit. Like, we did a fundraiser one year, it caught on. I thought after the first fundraiser, like you, I was done, but people kept contacting me, and then the news got involved. And this, like, by the way, was before social media and even like, YouTube and things. So the fact that people were even finding out about us was amazing. And
That's
then they
awesome.
came to me and they wanted to do their own bowling for boobies in other cities. So, like you, I
I
put
love it.
together a little tip sheet. Like, I think I'm telling you, girl, like everything you're doing, I'm like, yes, I did that. Um, and I wish I had you on my team because a lot of the time I felt like I was doing so much alone. Now, when we take it to your level where you are distributing physical goods, that's a whole different layer of, like, coordination. How is that happening? Like, how is that all coming together, the logistics now of being able to source, distribute, and manage these physical products getting into the right hands?
Yeah. So early on, one of the things that I looked at was what was the scalability of this idea and what was the replicability and the feasibility, right? Like really basic like business analysis, right? And the crazy thing is everything pointed to it's highly scalable, highly replicable, and highly feasible. So that's part of where we are, because it's a low barrier to entry, right? You could be listening to this podcast and say, oh my gosh, I want to get involved. What can I do? Right. And so at that point, it was, well, let's put up a website together. And we have basically like affiliates or chapters that might be I support the girls in, like I support the girls Denver, or I support the girls Dallas, or I support the girls San Diego, or I support the girls Orlando. And so we just need to find ways to connect folks. Now, part of the beauty of this is we have also partnered with massive corporations, some with retail, like bricks and mortar stores that have done drives and collections regularly for us, others that have supported us financially or through their corporate social responsibility or employee resource group teams or via products, right? Our in kind donations. So when you're receiving at the, millions of products from maxi pad manufacturers, bra and underwear manufacturers, it also changes the numbers. Now, we have on our team one of the best logistics strategists that I know of. And that is not her background. Her background's in like library science. But our logistics and operational strategy is bar none. We can move millions of products with very little warning or time if it's something that we get behind. So we're also then saving a lot of products from going to landfills and immediately getting out there into the hands of women and girls experiencing homelessness, survivors of domestic violence, victims of human trafficking, of sex trafficking, low income public schools, and the list goes on and on. And then we have programs that support folks with specialty like needs. Like we one of our Forces for Change program specifically supports women experiencing breast cancer who don't have insurance or access to mastectomy bras and breast prosthetics. And we donate thousands a year of mastectomy bras and breast prosthetics via our network. Um, and that's like one of many different little niche areas of folks that we're able to support and help. And it's our incredible affiliates that are affiliate directors that are volunteering in their communities to bring this kind of change into their city, their state, their country, because we're in 6 countries. There's I Support the Girls Pakistan, and I Support the Girls Australia and Germany and the Philippines and Canada and here in the US. And so we're also raising awareness about these important needs and access and why it's so important. Because I think that question gets often overlooked. People are like, "Oh, bras and it's sexy," or whatever that might be. And so, like, why are periods still taboo, even though we've been talking about them for decades? And so, talking about those kinds of issues in a very large scale way is also very paramount to what we do.
You're exactly right. It's some ways I feel like, we feel like we're in the year we are 2026 and we feel like, why are we still having these conversations and they feel awkward to us still? It's like it's a human body. It does things. It's not new. We realized this years ago, that women have babies and they have menstruation to have babies. And, why is this so weird and creepy? And, when I certainly was growing up in the 80s, we had a lot of products pushed to us, but we didn't really have real conversations about, what was going on with our bodies and the natural progression of it. So again, as like, we kind of go through life and, then start experiencing things like even menopause, there aren't real conversations as far as like, what do you need next? You go into menopause. Well, now you have vaginal dryness. Well, what does that mean? Well, now you need you could have a product to relieve that, and I bring that up because before we got on our interview call, I was going all through your website. And what I really loved was that you had all these different flash kits, these pre-made kits that were ready to go. So if someone was listening to, our conversation now, they could go to your website and they could apply for these things. So it's not always about like you have to go through a homeless shelter or you have to go to a charity drive or you have to be in a crisis situation like, fires or mass destruction. Like you could just be a normal everyday person listening to our conversation and be like, I could really use the support. How can I also get your help? And that answer to that is your wonderful website. So tell me a little bit about how you first started developing the kit idea, because I thought that was so powerful. And then even breaking it down to, perhaps like, people who need it like bras or menstruation products or menopause products, or even the one that you're calling the slash kit, which I thought was fantastic. So tell me where that whole idea came of having these pre-made kits came from.
So my colleague Rachel Hager, during COVID, we realized we were still operating during like peak COVID. So, your April, May, June 2020, like that time frame where like it was a lot of unknown. And a lot of the places are vetted partners. So we work with over like 5,500 different vetted social service agencies, other nonprofits that help their direct service to their clients, whomever they may be. And so many of our partners are like these other charities, if you will, um, were shutting down. right? If they had folks that live, on site and COVID happened, like it was the global pandemic around the COVID really changed so many places infrastructure of how they operated. So we were then like calling folks and like dropping it off at the doorbell, going back to our car, masked, right? And like going back to the car, like calling them saying, okay, we just left 5,000 maxi pads, 10,000 tampons and 3,000 bras and 4,000 pairs of underwear outside your door. Please confirm you can, and then someone would go in and pick it up. They'd be like, okay, we received it. But it really changed because people couldn't get to shelters, or the shelters that we were supporting, maybe they'd helped 100 people normally. And now because of COVID and social distancing, they were like, we can only help 25% or whatever the numbers might have been. So we realized we needed to do something to support people during this time. And we came up with our first one was our Dash Kit. And Dash stands for dignity, aid, safety, and hygiene. DASH, our Dash Kit. And it was geared for primarily women who were escaping domestic violence. And the number one place that was most scariest for women, especially during COVID, was in their own home because of the spike of domestic violence. So we wanted to be able to support women in need. Again, same basic essentials. And while we highlight and focus primarily on our website and social media platforms about donating bras and underwear and menstrual hygiene products, we also donate brand new makeup and nail polish and perfume, pajamas and clothing. There's a whole other list depending on what companies provide to us. It's not an everyday. We don't always have 140,000 pair of slippers new slippers available. It just depends, right? And so we decided we would do direct mail one time only, a bespoke box that was just in a very plain box, like looks like nothing, very like to whatever address you wanted, that would have a 3-month supply of menstrual hygiene products and new bras, new underwear. And if we had other available products, hair care, shampoo, toothpaste, etc., we would include all of that along with a domestic violence national resource kit, websites and phone numbers and stuff like that, and a bag to put everything in, and pen and paper, and put it all in the box. And so that was our Dash Kit. From there, we also launched 2 more direct mail programs in the same mindset. One was our Hot Flash Kit, and so that's for women experiencing perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause with very specific needs, also around maybe like cotton bras or like, items for vaginal dryness or lotions or chapstick, and a whole host of other items. Fans we've put in, and some of the same other essentials that anyone could utilize. And so that's our Flash Kit. And then we also have our Slash Kit, which helps folks that are gender nonconforming, non-binary, trans folks in need who also need access to very important gender affirming products. So they all work similarly. You do have to qualify, and sometimes we're super fast and able to support folks. Other times we might be listed in some major magazine and we will get hundreds and hundreds of requests a day, and we can't, it just takes us a long time to get through everything. We are not a huge team, so it does take time. It just depends on what that spike looks like for demand. But that's our Ash Kit program. So now they all fall under that specific program called Ash Kits, Aid, Safety, Hygiene.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I love everything that you're talking about here. There's just so many things in there, again, that we don't, when you have the access and the means, it becomes a non conversation for you. But when you're in suddenly that situation where you do need something, whether it is, an environmental crisis, a personal crisis, it becomes everything to have those simple things that make you feel human, make you feel worth something. And that's where the whole conversation about bringing dignity into it comes to. Because, in a lot of ways, we just think like a bra is a bra, a pad is a pad. But in reality, it can mean the difference between, are you able to go through your day? Because, mentally and psychologically, that's sometimes the only thing that will get you through, you know? And I love that, this reframing of sustainability through dignity is really such an important part of I Support the Girls. It's like, above and beyond all of this, it's like, how do we make sure that we're using all the products that are created? So we're not, I mean, obviously, in the US, we do tend to overconsume, but how do we make sure that these products are then actually being used and not dumped? And that's where I really love the sustainability aspect of it. That, the fact that products that were already created would then have a life beyond, maybe what they originally thought they were going to be. Because for any of the gentlemen that are out there listening to this show, and there are many, Dana, believe it or not, the average price of a bra is about $60. The average price of a box of tampons or pads is about 10 to 12 at this point. That's expensive. That is not something that you buy once and you're done. That is something that every single month you need to have a budget of almost $100 just to be able to physically take care of yourself as a woman. And that's not part of the conversation we ever hear about. Again, you said people hear bras and they're like, oh, it's sexy. It's always Victoria's Secret. Yeah, it can be, but also just to have bras to support your breast as you go about your regular day. That's a $60 piece of equipment that has to be replaced all the time because they wear out. And I really love that, we're able to have that conversation and actually tie it into the sustainability aspect again. Of like, when that stuff is done, then what happens to it? Can somebody else use it? Because obviously they're not donating trash to you people. When you hear about gently used items, it doesn't mean looking through your drawer and finding like the crap that is falling apart. This is maybe stuff that you never even used and still has tags on it. Okay. So being able to have that new life for it, to rehome it, to prolong its life cycle is incredibly important, in this world, because all we hear about now is like, recycled straws and bags, but there's really so many other things that we could have something else to do with. And I know there are a lot of companies that are coming out now where they are actually taking what we'll call textiles that really are at the end of their life cycle. And then you can donate them and then they're finding new homes for it. So, do you partner with any of these other companies? Because when people are trying to give you donations, sometimes again, you get stuff that can't actually be reused. So, are you partnering with some of these organizations where you can then pass this along and say, you know what, we have these mound of textiles we can't use. Can we donate them to you? Has that happened?
Well, for years we worked. There's a company though called the Bra Recyclers. So they would take if people again. There's like a quality control issue here, right? Is we're relying on people to we recommend if your gently used bra that no longer fits you or isn't your vibe for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, right? Like people change, grow out of bra sizes more often than pants and t-shirts, and bra sizes can fluctuate for so many reasons. So whatever the reason is, if it's a bra that you would gift to your best friend or sister, okay, without them going, "Oh, this is in really bad shape," right? With them saying, "Okay, I can wear this," then we want it, right? But our volunteers and our team still have to do quality control, right? When we're talking about millions of products, you have to there's still a discerning requirement that we have to take a bra through the process. And so not every bra that gets donated we're comfortable giving out. So for a while there's an organization in North Carolina that will take the little metal eyelets off of some bras. I mean, again, a sports bra that's solid state doesn't apply, but like the little metal eyelets, like the hook and eye connective pieces, and to help with turtle shells, like if they're gluing and repairing turtle shells in turtle rescues. And so like we've been sending thousands down there, but like they're like, okay, we're good, right? Like there's not that many turtles that have this many needs, right? So you have to kind of get creative. We've done some other when there's products that so with bras, we've looked at textile companies and for the fibers and stuff like that, and it's a little bit trickier. Oftentimes, again, we ask for sealed menstrual hygiene products. So that could be a box of maxi pads, a package of tampons, etc. But probably a dozen times a day, we will get emails or DMs where people message us and ask, "I have an open package of tampons. it's 50% full in my bathroom closet. Can I still donate them? The individual tampons themselves are sealed and they're in the box, but the box itself is opened. Um, and so, yes, we can receive those and donate those loose ones out. We make period kits with them. That's no problem. Panty liners, however, don't all come individually sealed. Sometimes you can open a box of panty liners. And if your population of listeners out there has never purchased a panty liner or seen them, sometimes they come individually sealed like a pad or a maxi pad does in in their boxes or packaging. But sometimes they're flat up against each other like little soldiers. Like they're just like, and they're open. And so like if you were to put your hand in the open panty liner packaged box, you could physically be touching multiple parts of like cotton at the same time. We receive those too. If they're sealed, they go in one direction because the box is completely hermetically sealed. If they're open, we will use those as demos because we do a lot of advocacy and education. So we might be going to Girl Scout troops, colleges, elementary, middle, high schools, and talking about these products. We do a ton of education for companies as well. And so it's good for us to use these because then you can pass it around and then dispose of it, but it's been at least getting that other use of educational value. We also do art projects. And so we've done some really fun art projects, and we always have to caveat it with from like a sustainability perspective of all of the products used within here were donated to us but could not be donated out, right? Because you don't want, if something is open, you don't know what's touched it, you don't know what dust is on there. Like it just, we're not going to donate it out, but we won't just throw it away either. So we use it for art projects, for teaching, for some other avenues.
What a great idea that some of those products that can't be donated out again, that you can just use for a demo process. Like, I didn't even think of that. I'm like, girl, you're entirely right. Like, you don't have to open up a new one. You could just use one that's already in an open box. Be like, okay, well, this is how you use a panty liner, right? Because I mean, there's a learning curve sometimes. Like, what are all these different products for? That as we, go through our life, we kind of figure out, and then we're like, oh yeah, I had to learn all that stuff. I get that. Which brings me to my next question. How are you getting the messaging out about what you do, what you need, and what you need to do to move forward? Like, how are you finding your affiliates and everything?
So I think communications is a huge part of any organization strategy. And that's one area where we do excel. And not every accidental nonprofit founder ha- everybody comes to it wearing different hats, right? So not everyone suddenly has communications as their background. I happen to have communications and marketing as my background before falling into millions of bras. And so that's just luck of the draw, like luck of the drawer. I'm from New York, so I say that word funny. But that's what that is, right? Like so when it comes to messaging, I think communication and messaging is paramount, and that's important to me. And the organization had, like, when it comes to discussing what we do, how we do it, we have systematized also our branding, our marketing, our messaging as a nonprofit for I Support the Girls. We have been incredibly lucky to get the word out via various major media outlets. So that is one channel that we've used. I think so. We are super grateful. We were on the Kelly Clarkson show. I think it was three times, four times over the course of a year, right? So she has a different kind of audience reach than we have as a nonprofit. And so when her followers, listeners, audience members, watchers learn about I Support the Girls on her show, our inbox gets flooded. That's just one avenue, but we've also worked with different musicians. So sometimes musicians get bras thrown on stage, and we can use that as a way to raise awareness. So we've partnered with a rapper named Young Gravy. We've partnered with a singer songwriter named Haley Kayoko. We partnered with Charlie XCX. She did a music video with Billie Eilish, and those are some household names. And then they raised awareness about in the music video, there were 10,000 brand new pairs of underwear and bras in the video for the purpose of the song Guess. And so if you're not familiar with Charlie XCX song's Guess, she did it with Billie Eilish, but there's some innuendo and lines in the song about you've got to guess the color of my underwear. And it goes on. I'm not going to keep going on the lyrics, but for any of your audience members who'd like to check it out, you sure can, or check out the music video. We were super grateful to be featured with our logo at the end. And we received the 10,000 bras and underwear and sent them then we had domestic violence shelters lined up because we felt it was appropriate since we work with so many different kinds of social service agencies. We wanted those to go to survivors of domestic violence. And so that was no problem. And again, it was all new. They were out of packaging, used in this music video for this one weekend. And so but we could totally take them. And um so we partnered, and that's another way of messaging. You want to talk about messaging, communications, branding. Like we were involved in a lot of these different aspects of it. I happen to be a big Charlie XCX fan and had been for like a decade plus, right? So that was when they reached out. That was unrelated because I just happened to love, just indie music from back then. But so we were very excited. But with anything, because we've been featured on TV shows and in movies, we have a very set protocol of our internal staff and our comms team and our board to review, do the values align, is this going to be okay, what could be potential communication um, issues that could arise, all of that stuff. But then the story that particular collaboration of those two artists, the amount of media that then discussed that huge pile of bras and underwear that you see in this music video was going to I Support the Girls and to survivors of domestic violence. And so that was a whirlwind of media. You want to talk about messaging? We were ready. We were super ready. And I mean, that week I was doing BBC One, BBC Worldwide, People Magazine, Rolling Stone Magazine, Vogue, Vanity Fair. I mean, everyone was reaching out. We were very popular. And so I think part of it is also understanding what society is dealing with. So her summer that she had, that album came out called Brat, right? And it had a very, very, very specific kind of neon green color. And we played right into it. So within hours, we recorded our own song that was about how to send us your bras, to the music, the lyrics, if you will, to the sound, as if this was a sleepaway camp song. I don't know how else to describe, about donating your bras and donating bras and new underwear to us, of how you have to go about it. And it was out less, I mean, if I say 18 hours, and I mean, then BBC aired me singing, doing it, but I was in brat green shirt. Messaging is important for no matter what you're trying to raise awareness, educate, sell, communicate. There's so many ways we do that. And then so media has been helpful. Celebrities are always very helpful. Whether it's been those examples, or Miley Cyrus helping talk about menstrual equity for us, or period poverty on her channel, or the New York Times featuring us, Time Magazine, MSNBC. It helps. I would love to say people just love what we do and they love to reach out, but they have to learn about us in order to learn to mail their bras, or they want to get motivated and become an affiliate. And we have a whole program. My colleague Emma's amazing, and she runs our affiliate network. And so we have a whole program of, so you want to become an affiliate, and here's what you need to do, and here's the support, and to take folks through it step by step. And so we do a lot. And then our social media channel, which is run by my colleague Daniela. And so that could be creative TikToks. It could be a very poignant Instagram post. It could be our LinkedIn channel, et cetera. And it's getting the word out. It's engaging and interacting with our followers or people who learn about us. So there's lots of different ways that messaging and communication has been and will continue to be important for I Support the Girls.
Well, I definitely think your social media makes it look like the party that you wanna be invited to. I was like I said, I was all over your Instagram before the interview, and I was like, it's just it makes it very inviting, not only to the person who might need the service, but also to someone who wants to be the person who can help, and I love that about it. When you mentioned the Charlie XTX song, what is it? XCX, that song actually, guess, is played in my spin class all the time, and that makes me laugh because 'cause I've never seen the video, so, of course, after this, I have to go see the video because I wanna see all of the panties being thrown.
It's a little risque. So
That's
at least
funny.
full warning for any of your listeners who are like, I'm here for environmental awareness and sustainability. Like at least like it's I wouldn't it crosses a line about being safe for work is what I will say. So like, watch the video at your own risk. But we also partnered with them. We partnered with her at the Grammys. She was the closing number the following year, last year at the Grammys, and they dropped 10,000 more pair of underwear and bras on stage while they had everyone dance, and they put a chyron on the screen that all these products would be donated to us. So like being featured at the Grammys and like, do you know what that like my inbox? I couldn't even use my phone. Like it was ridiculous. So, but it raises awareness about the need, and sometimes the most important form of sustainability might be just rethinking what and how we throw away and who gets left out when we do. And that's where I support the girls comes in to bridge that gap.
That's such a great way to say that. It's so true. And again, bringing the fun into it really attracts people. Like they want to be part of something uplifting and something that they also see has impact. And that's important. Which brings me to kind of like tying this up. I really just have to ask this, but if there's any advice you could give to Dana of 2015, what would that be?
I would love to have something really poignant here to say, Stephanie, because I think that's what I would want to hear when I'm listening to your podcast. But the truth is, I think I would say enjoy the ride because I have been so lucky and blessed to have the most incredible team of humans around me, whether that's folks who work at I Support the Girls and our affiliate network and our board, whether it's my personal friends who listen to me and like listen to like what we're working through, or do you have any suggestions? Um, or yeah, because we are fun. And I think part of the magic of I Support the Girls is blending a very important topic or topics, if you will, of dignity and women's rights and folks that are overlooked and menstrual equity and period poverty and all these kind of conversations we just touched on briefly in this hour. But it's also about how do you bring new people to this conversation? And you did say our Instagram feels like a party because sometimes we're blending really like fun things of how do you talk about bras, and like what you did with Bowling for Boobies, right? Like how do you make it approachable and fun? And so we have several vehicles in our fleet that have been gifted to us. And so one of them is our bright pink Vangina. The license plate says Vangina. You'll have to take a look at it. It shows up all over our social. Um, Amazon gave it to us. We did a Prime video with them, and they gave us this incredible van and said, "Wrap it any way you want." And we sure did. So we have a giant, like, cartoon anthropomorphic tampon on it that's like with a speech bubble talking that says, "Yes, this van is full of tampons." And it says on the back. So if you're sitting behind it, like if you're sitting behind me in traffic, it says every social media tag, we donate a month's supply of period products to someone in need. And so then it encourages people to see it. The other side has a giant bra and says, "I break for bras." The license plate on the front and back says Vangina. And it's very captivating. We were also given like a smaller school bus, like kind of like a 20 passenger school bus. And that's our bus T. And so that's written out BUS-T, busty. And that one is also with a call to action on the back for folks who see it on the road. We have our bra ferry, and that one, like, so we like try to engage people out and about in the communities also to learn about what we do to get involved. We hand out these little cute swag items. I'm holding up if you're watching on video. They're little like chapsticks, right? Like kind of like this, they're the size of a chapstick, but it's a bright red top with a white bottom, and we've hot glued string to it. And so this one is bedazzled just because I'm bedazzling everything in my life right now, but this is what they look like. And these
I
are
am
our tampon
dying.
chapsticks.
I am
I
dying. I
know.
love that.
I
I'm
know. So
dying.
everyone's like, I need a tampon chapstick. And then people are like,
All right.
oh, I
If
don't
you
want to
guys,
use it.
wait, if you guys aren't watching the video version of this, you must switch over after the audio version and go look at the video because the tampon chapstick has to be everywhere. Love.
I know. Oh, they are. So we show up at conferences and those are like our swag giveaway because it's just a chapstick and we'll have men come up to us and like, oh, I don't need them. We're like, it's chapstick, right? Like, so it's just lip balm in a tube. It's a tube lip balm, I guess, to not name a brand, but like, um, we want to get the word out. And there's so many different ways for that messaging to happen.
Okay. Let's get the word out. Let's give them the URL for the website so people can go and check this out for themselves. I am on board. I love everything about this. I literally want to start a chapter in Los Angeles because this is freaking fantastic. Where can they find you online, Dana? What's the website?
Go to the letter I support the girls plural.org. So it's I support THEGIRLS. I support the girls.org. And reach out. We have forums online where we respond back. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, on X, on Facebook. I think and Snapchat, whatever, YouTube, we're all over. We get just reach out to us. And if you want a tampon chapstick, let us know.
Reach out to her because we want to support the girls as well. Dana, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. My face actually hurts because I've been laughing and smiling this whole hour. You are a joy to talk to. I love your enthusiasm. I love the mission. And I'm telling you, that time machine, as soon as we get off this call, I am building it because I want you to be my BFF for life. We met like so late in life, and now
I just
yes.
was in LA. I was in LA. So next time I come out to LA, I'll come play. We'll go do something fun.
But you know what's crazy? I actually grew up in Philadelphia. I'm a Philly
Did you
girl.
really? Oh, Philly is so fun.
Yes, and I moved out to
I
yeah,
love
I
that.
moved out to LA, I don't know, a long time ago now, but when you were saying the word drawer, I'm like, "Oh yeah, drawer girl. I getcha.
I,
Drawer,
I,
water, got it all."
there's a couple words that I know mainstream America doesn't pronounce the same way I do. Some of them I will
Yeah.
modify and you won't know that I have a problem. That is one I know that sticks out for people. So yeah, but
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, no, gotta, it's, as they say, love that John. I don't know.
Love that, John. All right, well, it's so fun to talk to you. Thank you for being on the show, and I can't wait to see what is next for you, and I support the girls, Dana.
Thank you for having me. Have an awesome day.
Thanks for listening to the Wow Party podcast. If you're an entrepreneur or professional who would like to be on this podcast, please visit townmarketing.com and click on podcast. We believe that every business has the potential to change the world for good, and we want to support our community to help make the world more ethical, compassionate, and sustainable for all future generations to come. And if you're looking to build your business, no matter what level you're at now, request your free marketing consultation at townmarketing.com and click Get Started.